There were so many wonderful nominations at the 98th Academy Awards, but one of the very best was absolutely Delroy Lindo surprising in Best Supporting Actor for Sinners. How did he do it? It's time to break it all down. Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender. Every year, I pick one person that got into an acting category at the Oscars that was very much unexpected, and then we talk about it. Like, how did that person get in? This year, it has to be about Delroy Lindo for Sinners. He was snubbed at Critics' Choice, at Golden Globes, at SAG, and at BAFTA. He made the BAFTA long list, still didn't break in there with 6 slots. The Oscars only have 5 slots, and he made it in anyway in a very crowded category. It didn't seem like there was room for a surprise in supporting actor this year. How did Delroy Lindo do it? How did this great actor who's been around for decades finally get his first Oscar nomination when he's in his 70s, has been doing amazing work for so many years? I have 7 reasons. The 7 reasons that Delroy Lindo got the Oscar nomination for Sinners. Now, spoiler alert, let me say that at the top here, I am going to spoil what happens to his character in Sinners. So if you somehow haven't watched Sinners by now, go watch it. Come back and watch my video. Are you ready to get started? Let's begin with reason number 1. This is the biggest reason. The most obvious one, the absolute major reason he got in was the overperformance at the Oscars for Sinners. Getting 16 nominations, 2 more than the old record of 14. We had All About Eve and Titanic and La La Land get 14 Oscar nominations. I wondered, could that ever be broken? Maybe something could get 15 at some point. Sinners got 16. Basically, every category it was eligible for, it got a nomination, right? And so the immense love for Sinners from Academy members, that's what it took to get Delroy Lindo in. Let's say the movie only got 9 or 10 or 11 nominations only, right? That still would have been a great haul. If it had underperformed in any way, let's say it missed a technical category or 2 we thought it had a chance in. Let's say Wunmi Mosaku doesn't get into supporting actress, it misses 3 or 4 places. We thought, well, maybe, just maybe it's vulnerable in these categories and it doesn't make it in. I think if Sinners had not gone 110% on Oscar nominations morning, I don't think Lindo gets in. I don't think that shocker happens. I mean, it's possible, maybe Sinners could have missed in a few categories and somehow Lindo still made it in there. But I just think because of the domination of this movie, getting 16 nominations, there was a chance at enough people watching that film, loving it, really recognizing the power of the Delroy Lindo performance, to get him in there. He was always floating around 6th or 7th place. Going back many months, I thought, if he can just get into one ceremony, get in at the Globes or SAG or BAFTA or something, maybe it could happen. But because he kept missing everywhere, I was like, I just don't think there's enough strength for Delroy Lindo to break into a very crowded category. But when Sinners got into visual effects, it got into makeup, it got into supporting actress, it was doing really well. Absolutely, Delroy Lindo was on the table there, and it happened, and I was overjoyed. This man has deserved an Oscar nomination going back many, many years. He's one of the very best in that age bracket who has never been nominated before. So this overdue nomination at the Academy Awards for the great Delroy Lindo was so well deserved. Thank God the Academy went all in on Sinners. Reason number 2 was the vulnerability of Paul Mescal in Best Supporting Actor for Hamnet. I think most of us had him in 5th place of getting the Oscar nomination. It's not like we were overly confident in him. He was always kind of on the bubble. What made me think he was safe was 2 main things. He had gotten in everywhere, right? He hadn't missed at Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, SAG. He was probably getting in a BAFTA, so I was like, well, why would he miss at the Oscars? He's playing a real-life figure, William Shakespeare. That seemed like catnip to Academy members, and the film being so strong, getting into Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay. Jessie Buckley is the frontrunner to win the Oscar for Best Actress. She won in that category at Critics' Choice and Golden Globes. and he seemed to be kind of a coattail nomination with her. Like, even though Paul Mescal was never going to win anything in supporting actor, he just seemed like enough of a safe bet that nobody else could take him down. But there was some vulnerability there, right? There wasn't a ton of passion for the Paul Mescal nomination. It just seemed like supporting actor had 4 locks, and then you had Mescal, who I was like, if there's anybody who could drop off here at the end of the day, it would be him. Most people walking out of Hamnet, it's the Jessie Buckley performance we are singing the praises of, not necessarily Mescal, even though that's my second favorite film of the year and I adore Mescal's performance. It's Jessie Buckley who makes the deepest impression on the viewer. There's also the category fraud of Paul Mescal in supporting actor. I mean, it's kind of on the cusp. You could make the argument it's more supporting. There are chunks of that film he's not in, but he could have gone lead. Like, nobody would have pushed against that. If he had gone into Best Actor, he had gotten in, let's say, at the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice in lead actor, not supporting, that would have made sense. He's in enough of it to qualify for lead actor, not supporting, so maybe there were some people in the Academy who nominated him in lead and not supporting. Maybe there was just enough of that to make the difference. I don't think we'll ever know. It will always be a mystery to me. What if Paul Mescal had gone lead for Hamnet and not supporting? Would he have gotten in on Oscar nominations morning? Probably not, right? Like, Best Actor was really crowded. Jesse Plemons was really competitive there. He got in at BAFTA and SAG and Golden Globes. His movie Bugonia is in Picture and Actress, so like, Plemons was right on the cusp there. I feel like he would have had a better shot than Paul Mescal in lead actor for Hamnet. Ultimately, it might not have made a difference. Maybe he would have just not gotten in at the Oscars either way in lead or supporting. But because he was just vulnerable enough, there was room for a surprise there, and Delroy Lindo was that surprise. Reason number 3 was that Miles Caton, the other co-star from Sinners who was up for supporting actor and who got in at SAG, might have been deemed too young. I think the youth factor of Miles Caton worked against him when it came to the Oscar nomination. He got in at SAG over Delroy Lindo. You could point to that and say, well, wouldn't Caton have had a better chance of getting the Oscar nomination? Like, he got in at SAG, Delroy Lindo is nowhere to be found there. So why at the Oscars do they go with Lindo and not Caton? I think it was the age factor. I think because Caton is 20 years old, Delroy Lindo is in his 70s, has had such a deeper, richer, more long-lasting career going back many, many decades. I think if older Academy members are going to throw a nomination in supporting actor for Sinners, Delroy Lindo just makes the most sense. Miles Caton is a much newer face. He's also great in that movie. I think he has more running time in Sinners too. I just watched it again a few nights ago. I was so taken with the Miles Caton performance. He is in a way the heart and soul of that film. Everything that happens to his character when his character grows older, we see him at the end. Caton also would have made sense in a way to get the Oscar nomination. It's why I could not predict a shocker there for Caton or Lindo. I'm like, there's 2 people from that movie battling it out for a surprise nomination. They'll probably cancel each other out. It'll just be Paul Mescal. But it wasn't. How does Lindo get in over Caton? I think it's the age of it all. I think they're both really great in that film, but because Caton is very fresh, he's only 20 years old, there might be that thinking in the Academy, there's going to be more opportunities down the line to give him a nomination. This might be our one and only time to give Delroy Lindo a Best Supporting Actor nod, so I do think the age factor benefited Lindo here. Even though Miles Caton again gets in at SAG, the SAG voting body skews younger than the Academy voting body. And so yeah, Delroy Lindo, in a close race it might have been, got the nomination over Miles Caton. Reason number 4 was the overdue career narrative for Delroy Lindo. I mean, this man's film debut goes all the way back to 1976, 50 years ago. He has been acting in film and TV for 5 decades. He's never been recognized with an Oscar nomination. And he's been such a familiar, wonderful face in the movies, like in the 90s. He's in so many great films, action movies, Spike Lee movies. He's so great in Malcolm X and Crooklyn, Get Shorty from 1995. He is a standout in that. He's in Congo, Broken Arrow, The Cider House Rules. The list goes on and on. Delroy Lindo is one of those fantastic workman-like actors who have just been around for a long time, who've never received their flowers come award season. And it's like, if we're ever going to make that happen, why not for Sinners? Why not give it more than 15 nominations? Let's break the record by 2, not just 1. Let's give it everything we possibly can, including Best Supporting Actor, for somebody we all adore, going back decades. Somebody who deserves 1 Oscar nomination in his long career. It should be for Sinners, and it happened for the amazing Delroy Lindo. Reason number 5 was Lindo's Oscar snub in Best Actor for Da 5 Bloods from director Spike Lee. That 2020 film came out on Netflix in the summer. Everybody who watched it noticed the 2 standout performances. You had the late great Chadwick Boseman, he was going to be up for supporting actor, and you had Delroy Lindo in lead actor. That is one of his best performances. And going into the fall winter, it seemed like Lindo could have a shot. I mean, it's a Spike Lee film, it was on Netflix, so a lot of people watched it. And it was like, we've never had a chance to give Lindo an Oscar nomination. Let's make it for Da 5 Bloods. That would be awesome. He gets in at Critics' Choice and Best Actor. And I don't know about you, I got really excited. I was like, yes, let's make this happen. He also won some critics prizes. He won Best Actor at the New York Film Critics Circle. He won Best Actor at the National Society of Film Critics. So his name was very much in the mix for Da 5 Bloods, and I was all for it. I was really hoping for that to happen, but then Da 5 Bloods gets in at SAG, not for Delroy Lindo, it gets into supporting actor for Chadwick Boseman. I mean, Lindo is technically nominated for Da 5 Bloods at SAG because it gets into Best Cast. A ton of nominees from that film, but he's not individually recognized in Best Actor. And then at BAFTA, Da 5 Bloods gets 1 nomination in Supporting Actor for Clark Peters, so that's interesting. And then at the Oscars, it only gets 1 nomination for the score. That's it. Nothing for picture, director, screenplay. No Chadwick Boseman in Supporting Actor. He gets the expected Best Actor nomination for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. But like, really? Da 5 Bloods just gets in at the Oscars in score? I mean, that was wild. You know, that was a really wonky year for 1,000 reasons, right? Not just the film world. But there wasn't a lot of great movies released in 2020. It's like, really? We couldn't make room for Da 5 Bloods? We couldn't get Delroy Lindo into Best Actor at the Oscars? That would have aged so well. You might ask yourself, well, whose place would he have taken? You look at those 5 nominees in Best Actor, it's not clear. I personally would take out Gary Oldman for Mank. I don't think that nomination needed to happen. I like Mank less than other people. I don't think that's one of David Fincher's stronger films. Gary Oldman is solid in it, but he had just won in this category 3 years before for Darkest Hour. He didn't also have to get in for Mank. That should have been Delroy Lindo for Da 5 Bloods. It didn't happen. We've been talking about that Oscar omission the last few years. So not to say like that was a major reason he got the nomination at the Oscars for Sinners, but it might have played a small role. People thinking about that, like, oh right, he didn't get in for Da 5 Bloods a few years ago. He's never received an Oscar nomination. Now is the time, let's make it happen. Reason number 6 is that, of course, Delroy Lindo is extraordinary in Sinners. He is one of the standouts in that cast. He gets to play music throughout the movie. I think that's notable. He brings gravitas to that character and the project as a whole. He's like the oldest person there, right, in the cast. So again, the age factor plays a role here. The character, he's been through so much in his life. There is this emotional depth to his character, even though he's not in a ton of the film. In terms of running time, where the camera is just on his face, where he's talking, there's not a ton of that in the movie. But when he's on screen, he makes every moment count, and he's so mesmerizing in everything he appears in, but especially in Sinners. Another standout moment from Lindo is the scene where he sacrifices himself. The way he plays that moment, it has an element of humor in it, but it's also very dramatic. He's being heroic in the face of these vampires trying to save the lives of his friends, and the terror on his face as they climb on top of him and start draining his blood. It's a great Delroy Lindo acting moment, that scene. So it's not like he's a background character you just see from time to time. He doesn't get a whole lot to do in the narrative. He has enough to do in Sinners to make him a standout in this great ensemble cast. He absolutely has enough to warrant that Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Because reason number 7, the final major reason he got in at the Oscars, I do think was that monologue he has in the car. When he talks about his past, his friend who was lynched at that train station, the horror of that moment, how it has really affected him throughout the decades, all of the time he spent with that friend playing music, they go to jail together, and then they're like going out and performing at all of these venues. The yearning his character had at a young age to do something with his life, and then he sees this absolute atrocity inflicted on his friend, and how that made Delta Slim into an alcoholic, why he drinks to numb the pain. I just think that's the scene in Sinners that got Delroy Lindo to the nomination. He has other good moments, like I talked about, his sacrifice scene at the end, his introduction scene at the train station when he's playing the music, when he's talking to Michael B. Jordan and Miles Caton. That moment's also really great, but it is that scene in the car where it's like, 2 minutes, maybe 3, of just Delroy Lindo talking about his history and this horrible thing that happened to his friend. That's the scene I think gave him the final bump to his Oscar nomination. I watched a video a couple hours ago where he talked about one of the first screenings he saw of Sinners. His monologue in the car had been completely deleted. It had been cuts. And he talked to Ryan Coogler after the screening ended, and Lindo was like, I think a scene is missing in this movie. It's not just me, my vanity as an actor. I think that moment in the car where Delta Slim talks about what happened to his friend, like how that informs his character, how that informs the entire narrative, like everything that happens in Sinners. I totally agree with Delroy Lindo. The movie would not be as powerful without that early scene, so I'm happy it went back into the final cuts. The movie is better for it, and I think that is the last major reason why Delroy Lindo got the Best Supporting Actor nomination at the 98th Academy Awards. I mean, it sounds good, right? It sounds really freaking awesome. Oscar-nominated actor Delroy Lindo. It finally happened. It should have happened years ago. It should have happened for Da 5 Bloods. I'm so happy this shocker nomination occurred. Now the question is, can he win? Can Delroy Lindo on March 15th, 2026 pull a Marcia Gay Harden and win the whole thing? Again, no nomination at Critics' Choice or Golden Globes or SAG or BAFTA. He's not even at BAFTA, so this would be a Marcia Gay Harden situation. We have to see what happens at BAFTA and SAG. If there's enough chaos in this category moving forward, Delroy Lindo, especially because his movie is so beloved, and he is just one of the great actors of his generation, maybe it could happen. In a surprise, in a shocker, Delroy Lindo, I wouldn't predict it right now, but there's a chance, guys. There totally is. Best Supporting Actor at Critics' Choice went to Jacob Elordi Frankenstein, and then a week later, Best Supporting Actor at Golden Globes went to Stellan Skarsgård's Sentimental Value. If Skarsgård wins at BAFTA at the end of February, he's probably going to win at the Oscars, but what if at BAFTA they don't go with Skarsgård, they don't go with Elordi, they go with someone else there? What if at SAG they give it to another person? We have a Best Supporting Actress 2000 situation on our hands going into the Oscars like someone new has won at every ceremony. Then I do think the smart bet to win the Oscar for Supporting Actor is not going to be one of these other guys. It's going to be Delroy Lindo for Sinners. That moment would bring the house down. Can you imagine? He wins at the 98th Academy Awards. I can see it. I really can. I mean, that would be a moment. We shall see how this all shakes out. I don't know about you. I'm just so happy he got the nomination. That was my most excited reaction on Oscar nominations morning. I just didn't think it was going to happen, and it did. Academy Award nominee Delroy Lindo. I love the sound of that. You, sir, are one of the greats, and this was a long time coming.